Motorhead Garage, the program that each week introduces you to and shows you how to install the latest in exciting and innovative products for your vehicle. Now here's your host, Dave Dobson.
Welcome to Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonfireTools.com. Now, when you're looking to remove rust or corrosion, maybe some imperfections or old paint, media blasting is the way to go. And when you're talking about media blasting, there's only one name you need to know, and that is Raptor Blaster. Now, we went to their facility a while back in Sacramento, California, and found they have everything you need when it comes to any blasting job, big or small. But what really sets Raptor Blaster apart is their cabinets. They are second to none, and they're made right there in-house.
We manufacture our own line of wet and dry blast sandblast cabinets.
And so tell me about that. There's two different kinds.
There is.
And we'll get into that, but let's talk about the initial quality of what you roll out of here.
Everything that we manufacture is extremely industrial. We manufacture a line that's laser cut and hand welded, and that means there's no seams and no rivets where the media can escape and fall to the ground. In blasting, safety issues are when you get sandblasting media on the ground and people can slip on it, fall on it. So you want everything contained inside the cabinet.
What are they made of that sets them apart from the others that are out there?
Well, the wet blasters are made of stainless steel and the dry blasters of standard steel, and it's all 14 all the way down to 10 gauge on the door panels.
There's the wet blasting and the dry blasting. Let's talk about dry blasting first. That's what people might be the most familiar with. What are some of the applications for that, and why would you want to dry blast?
Well, dry blasting is a little bit different than the wet blasting in the sense that dry blasting is really prepping the surface for paint, powder coat. You can use glass bead and smooth out a surface, but that's really the strength of the wet blast cabinets. For dry blasting, I tend to like to use that surface prep for paint, powder coat, wet coatings.
And of course, we have an audience of motorheads. So let's talk about the different applications we'd have in the automotive world. When would you want to dry blast something? When would you want to wet blast something? Let's
take, for instance, a hood bracket that you're going to repaint. You want to strip that paint down with the dry blaster because it's simple and there's no water involved in it, and give it peaks and valleys and give it a profile that's going to actually let it adhere, the coating adhere to it better. You're creating more surface area, you're creating teeth, and then we call that a profile. So that's an application where you want to use dry blast as opposed to wet blast.
And what else do you have to do then once you're done blasting it to get it ready to paint or primer?
Really just blow it off with compressed air, and you're ready to paint. Clean the surface.
And if you get something like a carburetor or something inside the engine, talking about a block,
yeah.
I know a lot of people have been very skittish, and you don't want to dry blast that because it's going to etch the actual and take some material off, and you've got tight tolerances in there.
Yeah.
So that is where wet blasting comes in.
So what's really new to the market and kind of new to automotive in general and engine components is wet blasting. And wet blasting has a magic way of taking the same media that you use in dry blasting and actually adding water and then doing what we call a slurry or vapor blasting. And that has a magic way of sending the media at the part and then sideways and giving it a polishing effect. So in the most instances, we use glass bead, which is a round bead and has a peening effect, and we use that in combination with the water, and it completely changes blasting. And what it's doing is it's giving you an OEM finish on aluminum parts, brass, plastic. So any part that you take off of an engine that is aluminum that you want to look OEM new, you can do that very, very quickly in a wet blast cabinet, and then just leave that coating, blow it off with air, dry it, leave it off, and you've got a brand new part.
You've been doing this for a long time, and you told me there's a lot of misconceptions people have about wet blasting when it comes to parts like that, and how do you prove them wrong?
In the automotive industry, everybody's fearful of putting glass bead or any blast media into an engine. And that really stems from the old school of dry blasting. And what you would have happen in dry blasting is the media would go into an area and hit it directly into the part, and it would create it would stick. It would actually fracture and stick in different ports on an intake manifold or a carburetor and get stuck, and you don't want that piece in your engine when you're rebuilding it. So wet blasting is different in the sense that the media gets sent at the part and the water helps it move away from the part kind of sideways, and you're not impregnating the surface of the part. It doesn't touch the surface, it flattens it, and the media doesn't stick. So it's very easy to take a carburetor, After you've blasted it, rinse it out with water, nothing stuck in it, blow dry it off with air, and you have no issues with putting a piece together and having any media left in the part at all.
For heavy-duty industrial blasting cabinets that work as hard as you do, go to RaptorBlaster.com. And for more great aftermarket products for your vehicle, stay tuned to Motorhead Garage presented by DragonfireTools.com. We'll be right back.